All right, let's do this.
It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault!
As Above, So Below is directed by John Eric Dowdle, or Dodel. I'm not really sure how you pronounce his last name, so I'm sorry if I butchered it. And it stars a bunch of actors and actresses that aren't really famous, so I don't really know them at the top of my head, so I'm not, you guys can go look at the IMDb, whatever. This movie came out a couple years ago. I doubt you guys care about it anymore. But I wanted to review this movie because I watched it on a whim last night. I really wanted to watch a really shitty horror movie because I was in the mood for it. I was in the mood for a laugh. And I have kind of a soft spot for found footage films. They're not the greatest usually, but they're really easy to watch and they're really fun. The greatest of all time is Blair Witch Project. That is honestly like a great movie and I watch it every single Halloween. I don't think any found footage film will ever top that movie. And I know I said I was going to do a review of Friday the 13th, but I really wanted to talk about this movie because I have a couple of things that I want to say about it. And just for warning, the movie came out in like 2014, I think. I am going to go into spoilers. I don't think you guys care, but I just wanted to have a spoiler warning. One of the good things about this movie is that it has good sound design. One of the things that I realized about it about 5 minutes in is that they're in these caves and you hear, water dropping in, in the distance and stuff. And it's really creepy. And it has good sound design. The atmosphere is really creepy. Like I said, it takes place mostly in like these caves. And it is really creepy. It's got, like I said, it's got great sound design. The look of some of these caves are really, really creepy, and I actually kind of enjoyed that part. The mystery behind it is probably the best thing that it has going for it. They're trying to look for the Philosopher's Stone, and it's got a lot of like archaeology, history kind of stuff that it's going for, and I actually really enjoyed that part too. The set pieces are actually pretty damn nice. There are a lot of shots where I was like, is that a cave or is that like a studio? And I liked that. And that's about where my positives end. So let's go into my negatives. 5 minutes into this movie, I already had like 2 or 3 problems with it. It did not set up characters well at all. I did not give a crap about any of them. You're supposed to feel sad or feel bad for the main character because her father committed suicide looking for the Philosopher's Stone, and there's this one quote near the beginning where she's like, my father searched my whole life for this, and it's like 5 minutes in and you're like, well, why didn't you start the movie with her and her dad to create a compelling narrative? But it just kind of seemed half-assed, and that's a lot of the characters in this movie. A lot of the characters are there to die or to be chased or to scream, and they try and give backstories to some of them, and it just does not work out at all. Like there's this one scene in the movie where George, wow, I remembered his name in the movie. Maybe it's because she shouts it a lot in the movie. But George comes across this piano when they're in the catacombs. Really random. In another director's hand, it could have been kind of a cool scene, but in this one, it just came across as kind of funny and out of left field. But like, they come across this piano, and George goes up to it, and he's like, me and my brother used to play this all the time when I was, when we were kids. And it's like, he didn't mention he had a brother at all. And this is like 45 minutes into the movie. And I was like, wait, what? You have a brother? And the screenplay is trying to like make you feel for him. And I'm like, I don't give a crap about him. He just said he has a brother and that they tried to play this piano when they were kids. And I'm like, I don't feel this. I don't buy this at all. There's also a lot of cliches in this movie. Like I said, it's a found footage film, and obviously like the main girl is like the kind of like the badass main character, and she's going into places she's not allowed to go into and all that. And so there's this one scene where this guy comes out of nowhere and he's like, don't mess with her, man. You don't want to get wrapped up with her. And she's like, oh, I'm fine. Everything's going to be fine. But obviously, everything's not going to be fine. And then when they go into the catacombs at some point, a random old dude comes out of nowhere and they're all freaked out. And he's like, you shouldn't have come here. And he like walks away. I laughed my ass off because not only is that a cliche, but the way he said it was freaking hilarious. There's this one scene where they're trying to find a map on the back of a stone in this museum. And the way they did it, it kind of reminded me of National Treasure, but surprisingly, National Treasure did it better. The part National Treasure where they're looking at the back of the Declaration of Independence and they're putting all this stuff on it, And the guy's, his dad's like, you gotta have heat. And, you know, the map comes up and everything. In that movie, it worked better because they had the Declaration already stolen and it was out, you know, and they were in a house and there was no security cameras or anywhere. In this scene, they literally take it right off the wall of this museum and they like light it on fire and it like reveals this map. And I was like, there's gotta be, I know it's like an ancient, you know, museum and everything, but this was 2014. They have to have security cameras and they would have gotten caught. It was just the dumbest thing to just propel the plot forward. At some point in the movie, you begin to realize that this doesn't feel like a found footage film a lot of the time. It really does feel like a movie. And I know that's kind of confusing, but there are like actual like cuts between characters when they're talking. Like one character will talk and then it will cut to another character, but it's like from the point of view of their head. And it felt really, really produced. And the idea behind a found footage film is that it's not supposed to feel produced, like it's edited in any way. But it did. There's a lot of, like I said, cuts between characters, and it didn't feel natural. You know, take it, you know, back to Blair Witch, when two characters are talking, it's probably just from the point of view of the one camera, and all you hear is them talking, and it's just like the ground or something like that. You can't see them, but at least it feels natural. And this one, it felt way overproduced. And speaking of Blair Witch Project, there is an obvious ripoff of them going through the catacombs, and then out of nowhere, they're back to where they started, and they say, we're going in circles. And I was like, that is such a ripoff of Blair Witch. They weren't even trying. It also thinks it's a lot scarier than it actually is. I was not scared once, not even really creeped out during this whole movie. It has a couple of semi-creepy scenes, but semi-creepy scenes is not scary. I was not scared once. I laughed more than I was scared during this horror movie. There's also this one scene that I cracked up at, like a lot of the scenes in this movie, but there's this one scene where they're in the catacombs and they come across this weird choir, and they're just like in this room, and they're just like singing like these Gregorian chants, and they all look like really slowly at them. They're all like, oh my God, run. And it's like, what even is this movie? There's also this one part, oh my God, I had to rewind it like 4 times because it's just so good. It's amazing. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. They come into this room and there's like this Templar guy laying on a casket, and he's old and he's decked out, and you can obviously tell he's dead, and he's been dead for a couple hundred years. And it like zooms in on him, and then it zooms out, and then it goes over to our main girl, and she just goes, he's dead. Like, really? You couldn't tell? I died laughing because that was the funniest thing in the world. I'm like, really? And I keep on going back to this. This is a found footage film, right? There are sounds in this movie that were put in post-shooting. It doesn't feel like a found footage film. It doesn't. Like, I'm pretty sure at one point they had like music like put in, after they shot the film. And I'm like, this is a found footage film. There should be no music. What the hell? And probably my biggest issue with this horror movie is that there's not really a threat, like a so-called like actual antagonist in the movie. Obviously in the Blair Witch Project, it's the Blair Witch, and they're running away from it, and it's scary, and you don't really know what she's doing, but at least you know that it's the Blair Witch doing all this stuff. In this one, it just feels like they go into these tombs and just a bunch of funhouse kind of stuff happens. Like these skeletons will come out of nowhere and they start chasing him, and then by the end of the movie it just ends, and you're like, there was no... Who's the antagonist? Nicholas Flamel? Was it the Philosopher's Stone? Was it the old dude in the Templar outfit? I have no idea. There's literally not one clear answer on who the actual antagonist is. Oh my God, guys, don't waste your time like I did. Unless you want to have a good laugh. There are a couple of good, funny scenes in this movie that are very unintentional, but I laughed my ass off at it. Um, I don't know. I'd probably give this movie a D minus. The only thing that's holding me back from giving it an F is I did have like 4 or 5 good things that I noticed about it, but that's like me nitpicking what I liked about a movie. I don't know. I'd give it a D minus probably. I don't know. Have you guys seen it? What did you think about this horror classic? I don't know. I'll have the Friday the 13th movie review up for you guys at some point this week. I gotta find a way to put it on my computer so I can include scenes and all that, like for my It review last week. So yeah, as always, thanks for watching.